or it sort of like continues 13, where we have 13 is a presentation of this great Roman power, the Roman Empire that's persecuting the Christians from the beginning of the book. And so there's kind of like, after that, the Rome as the beast of the earth, Rome as the beast of the sea, and then the prostitute. All of that is Rome, the Roman Empire. Then we have different visions, heavenly visions of the people of God, 144,000, all of that. When we go back in 17 to more detail, more precision about Rome, about the beast. And so let's look at 17, and I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute seated on the many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. So if you go back to 13, and you'll see that we have a beast from the sea that comes out under the work of the dragon is behind it. And this beast of the sea, of course, that utters blasphemies, words, and this is all this great power that's coming up, and that's going to persecute for a long time, actually, these Christians. It's already started, but it's going to get worse and worse. It was allowed to make war on the saints, 13:7. Okay, and then in 13:11, I saw another beast rising out of the earth. Again, it's just speaks like a dragon, and it deceives. This is the religious side of Rome here. So we have all of that, and then when we come to later on, when we come to 17, we see now the image of the prostitute. This is another aspect still of Rome. And so this woman that is sitting on a scarlet beast, verse 3, was full of blasphemous names. It has 7 heads and 10 horns. So the 7 heads and 10 horns, what are they? Well, the text is going to tell us. Now, here it's going to be very specific. It's not always the case in Revelation. Revelation is mostly symbols, allegories, numbers that mean something, but it's not specific about any individual or any time in history. But here we're going to have something very specific in chapter 17. So this woman is drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. So we are still in verse 5 with this question, this thing about the killing of the Christians in the 1st, 2nd, and even in the 3rd century. Actually, the early centuries of Christianity went through a lot. Obviously, Satan is trying, at that point, he's trying to destroy the message. He's trying to destroy the church. Christianity is under a lot of pressure. This is a work of destruction, really trying to kill any semblance of Christianity and to destroy it. It's even surprising, actually, that Christianity actually survived when we look at everything that happened in the 1st century with the emperors and how paganism was spread so much. Christianity started very small. Who would have thought that Christianity could have even endured even a few years when Rome was pretending to be, at least 1,000 years kingdom, powerful kingdom that took over the world. Nobody would have thought. For us, we look back at history, we think, well, yeah, we find that's the case. Christianity overcame, and the message stayed. Christ is still known today. The paganism of Rome has disappeared. So there is a victory here of Christianity throughout the centuries, and that's happened everywhere. Actually, any time that there's an effort to stamp down the faith of the church, it is guaranteed, even by this book, that it's not going to work out. Now, human beings think they can do that. Human beings think they can stamp down faith in God and hope. They think they can do that, but they're never successful. And that's really the message of Revelation. They're never successful. There's no way they can do that. So here we have specific explanation about the beast And hear what it says, we're in verse 6. When I saw, I marveled greatly, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. So we go back to the beast. That was in 13 already. So what is the mystery? What is the explanation of that? Okay, the beast that you saw, okay, that came out of the sea, was, all right, it was, it is not, and it is about to rise from the bottomless pit. What does that mean? Well, we'll see. That has to do with the emperors. That has to do with the rulers. This beast that is persecuting beast was a persecuting beast. All right? It was in the past. It is not now. And it's about to rise. Here's I'm going to, in a few words, here's what's happening. Basically, John is on the Isle of Patmos as an exiled from the Roman Empire. So there's a persecution going on. There's been a persecution. But John has been on Patmos since Nero. Nero is the one who really started, basically, this persecution of Christianity. The ones before also, but Nero more than anybody else, especially in Rome. So you had Nero that really worked hard and did horrible things, in fact, to the Christians, especially in Rome and around there. But here we are under another emperor, which is Vespasian, and we'll see that later. Which is Vespasian, an older man who was put into the Senate as an emperor by the Senate. It was a kind of a regular, normal guy. We read the story of Vespasian. He's not a Christian persecutor, which is interesting. But what happens is that once he dies, then comes up these others, and especially Domitian will come. We have Titus for just maybe a couple of years, and then you have Domitian, and that's where really, with Domitian, that's where the persecution touches the whole empire and continues after that, even after that. So let's see that. So, and the dwellers on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. He repeats that idea. The beast was, the persecuting beast was, and is not now, and it's to come. So if it's a time of relative peace, at the time when John receives the revelation, which is under, Vespasian was an emperor for a number of years, I think 14 or 15, so a pretty long time. It's relative peace. The warning of Revelation is this peace will not last. There's going to be a lot of persecution coming on, so you need to be ready for that. So this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. So the beast has 7 heads. What do they represent? It's rare that the Revelation is going to specifically say that, but it says 7 mountains, okay? On which the woman is seated. Oh, all right. There are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come, and when he comes, he must remain only a little while. Now, we have coins of Rome, ancient coins of Rome, represented as a woman sitting on 7 mountains. I don't have one with me. I don't collect those kind of things, but they exist. I could have shown you pictures of that. But that was known at the time, and we still find those coins. So Rome is represented as a woman, as a beautiful woman, sitting on 7 mountains. So we know it's Rome. And so now they also represent 7 kings. So it's not just 7 mountains, but 7 kings, exactly 7 kings. Notice what he says, 5 have fallen. So if we have 5 kings that have fallen, or Caesars, it's the same on the Latin, Caesar means king. If we have 5 kings that have fallen, what are they? What's the Roman Empire started with who? Augustus, Tiberius, I believe, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, so in that order, okay? I don't think I'm mistaken. Those are the 5. Nero is the one who is the worst, I would say. Caligula was kind of crazy too, but they're all pretty bad. Nero committed suicide, I believe, in 67, 68. Now, those are the ones that have fallen. Okay, one is, what is the emperor now? It's It's who? It's Vespasian. All right? One is. The other has not yet come. When he comes, he must remain only a little while. So after Vespasian, we have another emperor who is Titus. Actually, Titus was a general when Jerusalem was destroyed in the 70 AD. At that time, was a general. So he remains a little while. I think 1 or 2 years of Titus. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an eighth, but it belongs to the 7. It goes to destruction. So now we have an eighth that's coming. And this is the beast, the 8th emperor. So we have number 8 here is the 8th emperor. And that's who? That's Domitian after Titus. So Domitian is going to launch out a persecution of Christianity all over the world, the Roman world, which is kind of a new thing. It's going to go everywhere. But of course, it goes to destruction. Now he says something else about the horns. Now look at this. This is interesting because what are the horns? You know this beast has 7 heads but 10 horns. What are those 7 horns? Let's look at that. Of course, 10 is also the number of totality, just like 7, but 10 is the number of totality. 10 is everyone, is everything. Right? A completeness. The 10 horns, okay, that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. They are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. So these kings, they give their power to the beast. They come under the authority of the beast. So who do you think, when you're talking about kings and rulers that are under the authority of Rome, who do you think about? You're not talking about the emperors. They don't submit their authority. They're the authority. The horn in the Old Testament and in the symbolism of the Old Testament represents power, authority. It always represents, because the horn is of the animal, is strength, power. So these are powerful people, rulers. What do they represent? They give their authority and they act on behalf of Rome. They do the same thing as Rome tells them to do. Who do you think these people are? I'm just asking a question. Maybe not obvious, but it's pretty clear if we know what happened with Rome. So Rome was a conquering empire. Rome, the Roman Empire, at that point, remember this is the 1st century. The empire just started, really, not long ago. I mean, with Augustus. What did the empire want to do that even the Republic didn't do? What did the empire do? It conquered lands. Where did Rome, how far did Rome go? Pretty far. All of North Africa, okay? All of Europe, Western Europe, all the way up to Scotland, all the way to the Northern Europe, most of today's Germany. I mean, big. Spain, all of that was the Roman Empire. Huge, a huge empire. So do you think that maybe when it talks about rulers that submit to the empire, to Rome, they're just talking about these rulers, these people that have been conquered, and that now they do what Rome says. So if you look at the persecutions, for example, if you look at the persecutions that happened even in the 200s, around 171 AD in Gaul, which is France. We know there's a lot of persecutions in the city of Lyon because we have texts from that, ancient texts from the 2nd century, written by Irenaeus, the church writer. Well, what you have in Gaul is not in Italy. Gaul is in Gaul. Lyon is a city still existing today in Gaul. Well, you have the authorities in the city, and you read the persecution of Blandine and all of that. You have the rulers of the city who are Franks, Gauls. When the Romans tell them, kill the Christians, what do? They kill them. Same thing in England. Same thing in Germany. All these nations, these people that have been conquered by Rome, they do what Rome says, kill the Christians. So Christianity is persecuted worldwide. Now, that's very fascinating because it's kind of like the contrast with the other side when Jesus says, go and make disciples of all nations. This is the plan of God, that the kingdom of God, that the faith in Christ would extend to the entire world. And it really extended pretty quickly. Christianity extended quickly, I would say. throughout the Roman Empire. Well, at the same time that this is happening, a lot of conversions, a lot of people coming to Christ in this part of the world. The thinking is changing. They're leaving paganism. And exactly at the same time, you have all of that persecution. Do you think it's a coincidence? And here's what happens. You think that when somebody is baptized, they give their life to Christ, they're baptized, and suddenly, for some reason, after their baptism, for a period of time and pretty suddenly, they start having trouble in their life and persecution maybe and a lot of things and trials. Is that a coincidence? That's what needs to be expected. Isn't it? That's what baptism brings you into connection with Christ, brings you into this life. And who is not happy with that? Do we have an enemy? Is Satan very happy when people are converted? Or even when whole nations are converted, are coming to Christ? Like actually what's happening right now. Well, you have to remember that Christianity is spreading like it's never been before. Bible is being translated into languages it's never happened before. It's spreading in India. It's spreading in China. China, I think now 100 million Christians at least. Many have to hide. That's 100 million is quite a lot. Is it a coincidence if there's a lot of things happening against Christians in China? No, it's normal. That's the way it goes. So that's what we have. It's always going to happen. So it's not like a surprise. Why is it that since I'm a Christian, since I gave my life to Christ, I have this happening to me and that happening to me, and I have to fight this I have to fight this battle? Because even when Jesus was baptized, what happened to him after his baptism? Was he not tempted in the desert for 40 days? Is that just to give us an example, maybe? It's the way it goes. Satan is a roaring lion. Now, if people are not Christians and don't care about God, is Satan going to focus on them? Why? They're lost anyway. That's the battle. And that's what we have. You're right. He is. He is. Yeah. Yeah. You're lost. Yeah. You're his. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You're right.
As long as I know where it is,
Yeah.
I don't give any time or energy.
That's true. Yeah. He's after the faithful. Satan is a dragon. That's why he's represented. I mean, we see that in chapter 12. That's the turning point in Revelation. What is that? What we have in chapter 12 is he attacks the woman that gives birth to the child. He attacks the child. The child is taken up to the throne. That's Christ. And then when Satan says that, when the dragon sees that, he's furious. The Bible says that. He's furious. He goes after the church. He goes after the remnant of the church. And so that's the whole picture. In 12, you have the whole picture of Revelation in chapter 12. So now we have it working out. Now when this persecution of the dragon here, for some reason, and I guess we can understand why, he talks about this opposition of dragon in the form of politics. Politics? What do human rulers have to do with Christian persecution? I mean, you would think that rulers of nations are very happy if people are Christian, aren't they? They rejoice when people live a holy life and they worship God. Rationally, yes, it should be like that. It should be like that. But it's not always the case, because you have situations and peoples and areas where there's a totally different view of religion, and actually very often what happens is the ruler who is the God. In the ancient world, it was like that. He was the one to be worshipped. In that case, there is a little competition there going on, competition. And that's what we have here. There's competition with the Roman rulers. And who is going to win the battle? That's the case. That's the question. Who is going to win? Well, what does Revelation tell us about the winners? It tells us who is the winner. That's the beauty of the book. It doesn't leave us into any doubt. Christ is the winner in this battle. He's going to win the battle. Whether it's in the first century, whether it's today. And a thing about that is, here's an important lesson on that. We don't have to worry about the question of who is going to win. If we start worrying about that, then we have a real issue. Because God told us Christ has victory, and if you're faithful to Christ, you'll have the victory. It's not that knowing Satan is after us, that we're going to live in worry about Satan all our life. No. I don't think that would be the right thing. Because the book is written for us to give us comfort that whatever he does, whatever powers he uses, he cannot win that battle or that war. He will not win it. And so I think that lesson is not just for the first century Rome, that lesson is for today. Rome is only used as an example in history for us to understand, and once we understand it with Rome, it works with every other situation. Now that's how Revelation is written, I believe. It is not a historical chronology of things that are going to happen like a lot of people think. You know, timetable of prophecies that people have written up, dispensationalism, premillennialism, pre-tribulation premillennialism, post-tribulation post-premillennialism, and you have about half a dozen of those. They're all different. Why did people do it? They take a verse here and a verse there, verse here and verse there, verse there, they put it together and make a timetable. And they tell you, we're at the end. This is the coming of Christ because of this happening. There's a war, there's Ukraine. Every century they'll make up something. It's not how the Bible needs to be read, because it wasn't written like that at all. It was written in a context to give us, in that particular context, which was the Roman persecution, and then we understand how it works. With that, it works the same for anybody today. The same. But it's not a historical depiction like people have thought, the book of Revelation, as a historical chronology. It's not chronological. It's more spiritual. Once we understand the principles, then we understand how it works. It's like the Old Testament. It gives us examples with Babylon, with different things that Israel went through. When we read the history of Israel in the Old Testament, we understand how God works. We don't need for the whole Bible to be the story of all the nations in the world. If that was the case, we'd have tons of Bible to carry around. It wouldn't work. So God doesn't need to do that. He just gives us an example, and if we understand how it happened back then, it happens the same today, because God doesn't change. And I think human beings don't change. They can pretend that they change, but they're basically the same. They're sinful, they have pride. Whether it's today or in the first century or under Isaiah, people have the same sinful nature. Now, we don't think like that today, because in our modern world, we think that man has evolved. We think man is so much smarter and so much spiritual. You hear all the time, like I hear on the internet, I hear, we're in 2022 and you have wars like that? How is that possible? Yeah, well, how is that possible that you have sin in your life even though you're living in 2022? What does it change? It's Christ that changes things. It's not, there's no evolution of human beings. The only evolution that we can think about is the evolution through the Word, through Christ, through the Holy Spirit. Now that's an evolution, but it's not really called evolution. It's called sanctification. It's called transformation. It's spiritual. So that's what we have. All right. So it belongs to the seven. It goes to destruction. Verse 11. It goes to destruction. These emperors, these rulers, they are destined to destruction. When the saints and the people of God are destined to what? Life. You can kill them. You can destroy their body. But what does Christ say about that? Is that the end of the story? Did not Jesus teach us not to fear those who destroy the body? He taught us that. So that's the whole point here. So these are kings that have not yet received. So I think these are the vassal, you say vassal rulers of the world, of the Roman, and these are those kings here. But I think we'll look at what it says in verse 14 about these other nations that Rome has conquered. They will make war on the Lamb and the Lamb will conquer them. So these other kings, these other nations, these other peoples everywhere, they also persecute Christians. But he says the Lord will conquer them, and for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those with him are called and chosen are faithful. So the angels say to me, the waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And like I said before, the waters, the sea represents the nations, all the turmoil, the chaos of the nations. So it's beyond, this verse is very important. I think it really helps us understand. This goes beyond Rome. This is about everything that we could see later on. Peoples, multitudes, nations, languages. Whatever applies in the first century, it will apply, spiritually speaking, it will apply even today. Now, the mistake that people make is that they try to read in the Revelation exact specific people. You know, Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, you know, he's the 666, and this other guy, you know, and then I don't know who, you know, and what else. That's not the way it's written. It's not the way it's written. God hasn't changed, and he acts the same way through history. Look at the verse 16. The 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. Now look at this. The 10 horns, who are the 10 horns again? What did they represent, the 10 horns of the beast? The countries, the different rulers. Yeah, the rulers. Look what it says about them. It says that the 10 horns, they will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. These horns turn against the woman on the hills. Who is the woman on the hills? It's Rome. These horns turn against Rome and destroy it. What is that talking about in history? Yeah. Collapse of the Roman Empire under the pressure from all these other peoples. That happened around 450, 460. It collapsed completely, that empire. For God has put into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. When the Lord is saying that to John, look at this. The woman that you saw is the great city. Oh, it's not a woman. It's not literal. It's a city. Oh, okay. That has dominion over the kings of the earth. What is the great city in the time of John that has dominion over the kings of the earth? New York? Rome. So now it's pretty clear. Like I said, we have coins, ancient coins that represent Rome as a woman sitting on 7 hills. So there we are. We did chapter 17.
Question.
Yes.
At one point, I remember you saying something about
Yes.
number 5,
Ye-
17 and 5.
Verse 5, okay.
And on her head was written a name of mystery, Babylon,
Yes.
great mother of prostitutes and of earth's
Yes.
abomination.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that Babylon isn't something quite what we might think it is.
Yes. Yes.
Remind us about
Yeah.
what that was.
Right. He doesn't, here in the text, he's not going to say Rome explicitly. Now, he says later on that it's the great city over the earth. Why does he use the word Babylon? What is important? What do we learn about Babylon in the entire Bible? What does Babylon, it's a symbol. What does Babylon represent? Let's go back to Genesis. You remember Babel, the Tower of Babel? Okay, Babel is where, that's the beginning of Babylon. That's the ancient name for Babylon, Akkadian name for Babylon. What happened in Babel? You remember? They wanted to build a tower that reaches all the way to heaven, to God. They wanted to be powerful and control things. And what did God do? He stopped it. He scattered them. They spoke all these different languages. So from there, we have that. And then we come to Babylon, the first great empire in the book of Daniel. Babylon is a great empire that took into captivity God's people, destroyed the temple, Nebuchadnezzar and all, took all these people, these Jews. And Babylon is the first great empire in the book of Daniel. It's the head of gold in the statue, the head of gold. And Babylon then becomes the representative or the symbol of a power a human power, a political power that enslaves, that persecutes Christians. It remains, it's a symbol. All right? And their pagan power. It's a pagan power, of course. So this is the great one. In the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, it's a gold head. After that, the different empires that succeed are less and less valuable. Interesting. You know, you have bronze, you have how do you say? Can't remember the word in English. Silver. That's the word I was missing. Bronze, silver, and then you have iron. So which is really, you know, but that's Rome. So you see the vastness and the wealth and it's true. Babylon probably has never had anything like Babylon ever since it disappeared. It was something pretty amazing. So that's, I think, that's the explanation. And she said it's a good question because she is described then as the great mother of prostitutes of earth's abominations. So she's a mother. You remember that in chapter 12 there's a woman that gives birth to the Christ. A woman, a mother. What does the mother represent in chapter 12? You remember? 12 stars, the people of God, Israel. She's the mother. Israel is the people of God. Israel gives birth to the Messiah. Israel is married to God even in the Old Testament. There's that close connection. So you see, you have a lot of parallels like that. That mother and you have this mother, Babylon. You know, you have always these parallels, you know, between the good and the evil. So I'm going to stop, I mean. And this way we've got chapter 17, not all the details, but we'll keep on with chapter 18 after that. We're getting close to the end of this study. After that, I don't know what will happen. Yeah. Well, not all the wars that happen we can connect them necessarily to the Bible, because wars always happen. And I don't know personally how much faith or Christianity or anything like that is actually involved. But when you see that empires or rulers are willing to kill, you know, a lot of people, well, that, of course, brings us back to this mentality, I would say, this framework, this way of looking at, you know, at things that hasn't changed. I mean, we talk about the dragon. How does Jesus define Satan? What is the characteristic? There's two characteristics of Satan that Jesus gives us, I think, in John 8. He is, first of all, the liar, the source of all lies. So, you know, he doesn't tell the truth. But what else is he? Murderer. Satan is a murderer. He wants the death. Now, it gets spiritual or whatever. He wants the death. So anything that is like that, war is basically, you know, a work of Satan, some way or the other. Yeah.